Hello gardeners, how are you guys doing today? If you're new around here, my name is Ashley and I am a soil scientist. On this channel, we take that science and we apply it to all things gardening and plant care. So if you like the sound of that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and join our awesome crew. If you are returning, you're looking awfully tanned right now. You must be applying some of that science in the garden, considering how the glow looks upon your face. You like that? That's kind of fun. I like to think I'm funny sometimes. Anyways, let's get into the video. So today's video, if you haven't already guessed by the title and thumbnail, we are talking about container gardening and exactly what you can do with a container, but also kind of the science behind proper container plants and growth and etc. and so forth. Different types of tips and tricks that actually work, that aren't hack series type things, actual science that works in your containers for your veggies that you decide to grow. So containers are not just limited to flowers, and I don't know why or how that rumor got started, but that is not the case. Containers can be incredibly valuable and actually higher yielding, especially in cold climates and in Canada, when they are planted in containers. And that, I know, sounds crazy, but it comes down to quite a few unique properties of container gardening. So behind me, you may see some ginormous vines, but this is not the only thing I put in containers, and I will show you some footage of exactly what I do put in containers. They range from corn to tomatoes to sunflowers to herbs to lettuce to pumpkins, spaghetti squash, peppers, and everything else in between. I do not limit myself when it comes to container gardening. Some of my highest yields actually come out of containers and not out of the garden, and there's a reason for that. We'll get into it, but there's a reason. So essentially what this video is here to tell you is do not limit yourself. If you want to start producing your own food, do not stop yourself because you only have access to a balcony or a small yard. Use containers, they are valuable. For example, when you're growing heavy feeders such as the pumpkin behind me, the squash over here, sunflowers or corn, you're going to want to make sure you're obviously fertilizing. So with all my container gardens, what I like to do is I like to put in a slow release formula, so the little pebbles, but I also like to mix in a manure peat moss mixture, which is around a third manure or compost, with the rest being peat moss and perlite. The second thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to fertilize weekly with a liquid version fertilizer. So whether that be the granular that you mix in with the water or just simply a liquid version you mix into bulk water supply. So that is the second thing you're going to want to do, because this is a closed system. The plant is completely relying on you to feed it, whether it's through organic or inorganic methods. Now, if you watch my inorganic versus organic video, you already know what I think of organic versus inorganic, and the fact that organic soil takes time to be able to have nutrients available. So if you are doing a fully organic system, you're going to want to make sure your potting soil is continually being refreshed every year with manure, and I'd probably do a 50-50 mix. 50% compost and manure, 50% peat moss every single year. You're going to want to do this just so you have a constant supply of nutrients. If you're doing a conventional version, which is what I'm doing behind me, then you don't have to worry about this as much. You just want to make sure you're supplying fertilizer on a regular basis. The second most important thing besides fertilizer is the size of the pot. And it might seem ridiculous when you first plant these plants, having this little itsy bitsy plant in there, or just a single seed in some cases, in a ginormous pot. But I can promise you, you will thank me for it later. Anyone who has planted in any container, whether that be a 5-liter bucket or a giant pot such as the one behind me, knows that big pots are important, and there's a reason for it. The reason being is water and heat. The larger the container, the more soil, and therefore the longer it takes to warm up the pot. So for example, this pot is probably, and this is the one with my giant pumpkins, is this gray, oh God, you're not going to be able to see that, is this gray pot behind me, and I'd say it's around 30 gallons in liters. Check here somewhere for what that would be in liters, but you're going to want that size for a number of reasons. Not, the cane just bumped my thing. Oh, thank you. He's the corn eater. Anyways, so essentially you want to make sure you have a large pot just to avoid overheating, but also to ensure that when you water in the morning or you water in the evening, if it's twice a day or once a day, that it's going to survive the whole day without wilting, because in a lot of cases, crops that wilt will have a lower production, or their fruits and veggies will be slightly malformed, or the plant in general will be malformed. So keep that inside. The size of the pot is incredibly important. If you have just a regular garden that's a raised bed or a ground bed, I still honestly would consider doing container gardening. And I know you're probably thinking, why would I do that? And there's a number of reasons. First reason being, you can start these guys inside earlier. Anyone who's done pumpkins or watermelon or squash know that they do not transplant very well. And in the case of giant pumpkins, it's 120 growing degree days for any fruit to be available. And where we are in zone 3, we have around 90-ish growing days. So we're literally like a whole month less than what is required to grow this size of vegetable. So you can start these guys inside sooner, which is incredibly valuable, but also you can adjust the pot as needed. And when you're living in a city setting, especially where I am, you have fences, you have trees, you have a house, and as the sun moves through the sky throughout the year, it's going to shift where the full sun is located. What might be full sun in the spring may not be full sun in the middle of summer, but with these guys, they need full sun the whole year through, and therefore you can move them around when they're smaller into sections that get full sun, but then move them around to other spaces once the full sun has decided to move a different area in the yard. If that makes any sense, it's incredibly valuable. The second reason is there's just some crops that really do well with heat, and those would be things like tomatoes and peppers, especially. These guys, squashes, pumpkins, they're not too fond of the hot weather, but peppers in particular love slightly hot roots. And when we're talking to the people that are further down south in the United States, you guys need to watch a little bit. Your heat gets a little bit too hot, but here in Canada, it's incredibly valuable. So I do have some peppers that are growing in pots, and they're doing absolutely fabulous. So if you're just a bed gardener, I do encourage you to try out containers or doing a mix. That's what I do, and I've just found some things just simply grow better in containers. Squashes, pumpkins, things that are sensitive to waterlogging also do really well, because you can control. So I can control how much water this gets, how it drains out. It's never going to get waterlogged if it rains too much, because I have a good draining soil in there, etc. and so forth. So in my opinion, a hybrid of the two are the best. I don't think you should limit yourself if you just have a balcony or a small yard. I think you should go full container all the way. And if you are just doing flower beds or ground crops, I would encourage you just to give this a shot, because I do think you'd be surprised at both your yields, but also just how well the plant does when it's in a scenario like this. Like this side over here is from this plant. So, I mean, he's big, he's happy, so I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts below if you container garden, or if you've tried it, or if you do a hybrid of the two, and exactly what you've grown in your container. So I've done watermelon in containers, pumpkins, squash, peppers, tomatoes. What else have I done? Lettuce, herbs, I've done lots of stuff. There's probably more. But I'll let you guys go. Thank you for so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you've made it this far. Clearly you like me just a little bit, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.